Hello, everyone. Let me just start by saying a lot of what I'm about to discuss is directly tied to my job because for those of you who somehow weren't aware, um, I work in intelligence, and a very huge part of that job is, in effect, public speaking. So, as opposed to giving it being your speech to a large audience, you generally give it to a small, rather intimidating and personal audience, right? And that's sort of what happened here in this class. And a lot of what we learned gave a name to some of the things that we know in my line of work, and therefore allowed me to sort of define it more accurately, right? So I'm going to go through in order from when we learned it in class and say what it is, right? So first is types of evidence. In the intelligence community, as long as you have the name of the organization and the paper that you got the information you were sharing from, then that is good enough by any means, right? However, one thing that this class taught me is that there is more to personal accountability of research on the outside world or the civilian world. Saying, oh, well, the CIA published this document assessing this, that's simply not enough because there's not the same level of accountability as opposed to saying this professional individual at the CIA stated this with this evidence to back it, right? So that is something that going forward I'm going to be keeping with me, right? Because we have made some bad judgment calls, in my shop, and sort of doing something like that, being able to define the types of evidence is really important because we are professional opinion givers founded on fact. And if we don't know where specifically these facts are being derived from, these facts that we are being fed, then we are not very good opinion givers. So we're not very useful Marines. And if there's one thing I refuse to be, it is a useless Marine. Next is the argument appeals, right? So the pathos, logos, and ethos. Generally speaking, in my line of work, we have ethos and logos. We try to completely avoid emotional language because we're not trying to persuade the commander in any way. We are trying to inform him, right? And using pathological language would detract from our professionalism that we are trying to present. However, if you are trying to persuade someone of something, using purely ethos and pathos is an incomplete picture, right? You can be like high and mighty and logically correct all you want, but if you can't approach them on an emotional level to some extent, you simply will not be able to get them on your side. They'll feel like you're talking down to them or that you're calling them stupid, right? And nobody wants that, especially if you're trying to get them to be on your side. That's simply not okay. The next is the locus of control. So generally speaking, when we present, I'm going to back up a bit here. You keep your hands like this, lower, or you are at parade rest, right? That is meant to put yourself in an almost submissive position to the commander so that he doesn't perceive that you are being belligerent or disrespectful. However, when you're talking to a larger or less authoritative audience, you really want to be able to take that control and not do like all these wide movements because it seems like you are not in control and the qualified individual to be speaking, right? And if you are too motionless and not animated, you're not going to be able to really grab their attention and hold it and make them want to listen to you. That what's in it for me factor, right? Second to last is nervousness, right? I thought that since I briefed the general of the 1st Marine Logistics Group, that briefing a college class would be no big deal. But lo and behold, briefing people or presenting to my peers is a lot more stressful because I care what these people think about me usually, right? I'm not used to that. I don't care what the commander thinks about me. I just want him to understand what's going on. So that was definitely a big obstacle to overcome. Because originally, whenever I'm doing it at work, I just brief it to death so that I'm not nervous, I'm bored, right? But reframing that nervousness into excitement really helped me, especially with my speech to entertain, because I was really excited to give that one, right? Especially since I got that second chance to do it, it added another sort of importance to me. And it was a lot of fun, honestly, memorizing and rephrasing some of the stuff, and then finally being able to share that with everyone. And finally, visual aids. So, in the intelligence world, it is death by PowerPoint, right? So, one of the go-to phrases is, as you can see on screen, or as depicted by the graphic above, XYZ, right? And boy, do commanders love maps with range rings on them. For those of you who have ever been to an ops and intel brief, you will know exactly what I am talking about. It is, how far can this plane go? How far can this missile go? Right? But when you are not in a military environment, you can't really rely on that, because it seems like you're reading off of it. And even though you aren't, if you reference it too much, it can detract from what you are saying. There is a really big thing in my shop where they are saying, don't just restate the slides, don't just restate the slides. However, we end up doing that a lot because we rely too much on the graphics to dazzle whoever we are briefing, so that they miss any minor errors we make in the script or in the slideology, so to speak, the slides themselves. And really going in like raw, just me, right? There's no pictures, there's no graphics, just me. It added another layer that I wasn't used to, and I feel like a better Marine and a better intelligence analyst because of it. That's all I have, and I do feel like I learned a lot, especially how to be a Marine and a college student in general. So that's all I have.